So Ruben, welcome to the podcast, brother. How you been?
Dude, doing amazing, doing fantastic.
So we've did a podcast quite a few years ago.
Yep.
Like what, 4 or 5 years maybe?
Probably a little bit longer, probably like 6.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been some time.
Yeah. So tell us what has changed from your neck of the woods since the last time we talked.
Well, I think at the time, I was trying to get that podcast. That thing went up and then it's gone. Other than that, I changed companies. We've definitely dived a lot more into the investing world, the RV rental world, which we talked a little bit about that. Just getting a little bit more creative on creating a little bit more of a passive income type of lifestyle.
Right.
Passive income.
Yeah.
As passive as you can make it.
What's some of the struggles with that?
Well, the whole passive,
Yeah.
there is still some management stuff that goes on in the background. I don't know if there's really 100% of passive stuff out there. Maybe like a disabled anything and you're getting, maybe that's a little passive, or dividends or something like that. But what we dive into, we still deal with people, and people could be very volatile at times, and you think there's a for sure in something somewhere, and boom, it could flip 180. So I would say that's one of the big struggles.
Sound like there's a story there.
There might be a little bit of a story there. Right now, today, dealing with this. We have an RV rental. It's done well for like 3 years, and the cash flow's been good. It's been cash flow positive for a while. We've got equity in it, which is weird when you buy an RV, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been using some of the money to pay down the principal, right? So we've been able to create equity in it, but we're in a little bit of a pickle right now. So one of our guests, which we'll see how far we can talk about this stuff, because I don't know where this is going to go. But they have taken the RV. They're saying they haven't damaged it. The roof is coming off, and they're driving at 86-ish miles per hour, where we've had to get the highway patrol involved around Oregon and the West Coast right now.
Wait a minute, have they brought it back?
No.
Recovered it yet?
No. It's they're doing some music stuff, so there's plenty of places they have to hit in between there. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's the newest kind of drama.
Yeah.
But everything else is rolling good, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
So talk to us about the real estate. Where are you at with that? I think you're into coaching and.
So I do what I call real estate CIA.
Mm-hmm.
So the C is coaching or consulting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So where we will go into firms and we'll help those firms out and we'll help them scale, retention, growth, all of that stuff. Help them to whatever level they want to go into. And then the coaching side also is just our own agents, helping them scale the same stuff. Mm-hmm. Passive income if they want to get there, investing, the whole thing. The I is investing. So we do investing, right? Short-term rentals, which are Airbnbs, long-term rentals, and the RV rental type stuff. And then the A is the agent side, where we have right there at 200 agents across the country, closed about 2,000-ish units last year. We might move to the month. We might move to yeah. Last year. So the team's doing really well. But that's the quick umbrella is what we call real estate CIA.
Nice. So I've been seeing there's been an influx of folks getting into being, becoming a realtor and all that. What does that look like from your end? I know there's at least in our area, you look around, there's pillars in the community. You know what I mean? And then now you're seeing all these new faces, and you're seeing folks on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and and what is that like? I mean, when you're bringing in so many new faces to an industry, and within a year's time, when you look out there, it's totally new faces.
Yeah. So take a guess on what the attrition rate is for the second year agent. How many agents leave the business in 2 years?
I would say
Percentage.
At least 60%.
Higher.
80?
Higher.
95.
88%.
Jeez.
88%. So that's why you're seeing a huge rollover all the time. There's a few things, right? So once the pandemic hit, a lot of people decided that they didn't want somebody else, I guess, helping them along the way and telling them that, they can't show up to work, they can't get paid. And a lot of other people started looking towards side hustles. Mm-hmm. And you saw a lot of people move into real estate during that time because North Carolina finally caught up and you can do real estate classes online. You used to not be able to do that, but that fast forwarded that. A lot of people got their license. It was easier a few years ago, The real estate market was bananas. Anyone could sell a home, and now it's starting to shift. And it's a little bit harder. Mm-hmm. and it takes a little bit more grit, a little bit more consistency, and it's not as sexy as it used to be. It goes right back to that consistent game of just like the same old type of more of a boring concept in the morning to keep the business rolling. And you're just seeing them drop like flies. I think 2 months ago, NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, said about 30,000 agents have left the business so far this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, when I look at it kind of from an outsider looking in, just strictly, I've never imagined myself ever being in the realtor shoes.
Yeah.
But if I was, I would look at, I need to be able to survive 6 months, 8 months, just from the little knowledge that I've got of what it would take to become a great real estate agent.
Yeah.
It seemed like there's a part of the struggle, I would imagine, is the fact that it's not an immediate return on your time, your efforts, because you're probably when you talk to people and coach people, what do you tell them? What kind of turnaround time is that?
Yeah, so I got a video on this. I did a reel on this, and it was like, hey, listen, I'm going to just keep it real for all newer agents. You're going to suffer, and it's going to suck. And this is not a pretty game. And for about 3 to 6 months, you're going to be in the red. You're starting a business. I mean, would you say, I'm going to ask you a question, would you say that the school system is set up to help out entrepreneurs or more of an employee mindset?
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely not set up to help entrepreneurs. I think it's set up to, train us to become a 9-to-5 type person.
There you go. So what happens when somebody says, all right, now you own your own business? And there isn't really any structure, right?
Yeah.
They say you have all the time in the world, but at the same time, what are you doing with your time in order to move this thing forward?
Yeah. So it's the same thing I kind of parallel with when I look at certain contractors, whether if it's construction, concrete, plumbers, HVAC guys. I see all these folks that are in business, and especially when they're new or like they're just starting out, even seasoned folks, they don't have the same work ethic that they have even as an employee. And what I mean by that is that it just blows my mind that as an employee, they will be on time if they got to go to a job site at 8 a.m.
Yes.
Like they'll show up.
Yeah.
They might be a little bit late.
Yeah.
Late, but they're generally there.
Yeah.
And then when they start their own business and become self-employed, the notion seems to be, well, I don't have to work as hard.
Yeah.
And that's the furthest thing from the truth of what I could do.
You got to do more work.
It's like, what do you mean you work for yourself? But isn't that crazy how so many people will give a job 10 times the effort and they will give their own business or their own future?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they're given a roadmap, right? Once you finish this task, you can move to the next task, and it's easy-ish, depending on the business. I don't want to say it's easy all the way around, but you've got some kind of roadmap. And when you go home, can you turn it off as an employee? Most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time. You clock in, you clock out. Now, as a business owner, you're taking a shower and you forgot you've been in the shower for 40 minutes because you're thinking about the next project.
So let me ask you, so for real estate agents that are just getting started out, like that window of time, how do you survive the drought? If I was starting out, you're starting out brand new, you don't have no Rolodex, you don't have no connections, you've got a 6-month window before you start getting any type of return.
Yep.
What is the blueprint for success?
Yeah, so all frustrations start at expectations, right? Failed expectations. So we set the expectation up front that this is a 90-day business, meaning what you do today shows up 90 days from now. You prospect today, you're going to get something 90 days from now. So we don't do the flash HGTV. You're going to get a commission. You're going to be balling out of control. Get your Bentley. Go ahead and put it on layaway or whatever, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not going to happen. It's going to be a grind and it's going to suck and you're going to do things you don't want to do for a while before this thing. So first we set expectations. Second thing, you said that they don't necessarily have a Rolodex. Bull jive, I would call that. Bull jive, right? Because they do. What we do is and everyone defines success differently. So you said for them to hit success. So we have to identify that running these analysis, but I'll get to that in a second. But what we do is we say, all right, number 1 through 10, basically. I'm going to keep it 1 through 10. All right, identify your warm pools. What is that? That's where your warm leads hang out. What are warm leads? People who already know you, like you. They don't even have to trust you. Maybe they just like you at this point, right? Or know of you. Start writing down those warm pools where those warm leads hang out. Was it school, where you're in the military, high school, college? Did you work another job? These type of things. The gym, wherever. And then we start identifying how many people are in those warm pools. Then we just break it down to math. How fast do we want to exhaust all these people within our database? You got to build a database. If you don't have a database, you only got a business. At least this is what we say. This is what we tell our people. So you have to start reaching out to those people systematically. We've got all the scripts of just a communication, a conversation that happened. And let's say the math is 10 people a day to exhaust your whole list, put them into your database notes and a follow-up, do that. That's all we do.
It sounds like a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and that's the thing I realize. A lot of people, that's not popular, amongst even people getting into business. They tend to shy away from it. But, I see the same parallels. If that's the case with folks starting out in real estate, same thing it is with construction folks starting their business, or entrepreneurs across the board. So during that period of time, how rare is it you see folks getting a second job while they're working on their dream?
Not rare.
Not rare at all?
No, you see it. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the success rate, it's going to be around an 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is a very real thing. So about 20%, if not less, are going to make it to the third year.
So let me ask you this. I know I see it. Are you at a point now where you can look at those people, those new agents coming in, and you can pick the winners right out of the gate?
Dude, I was just talking about this. And no, I'm terrible. I like everyone. So I'm like, yo, you're going to crush it. Like that's kind of already in my head. If I could be sold fairly quickly in terms of enthusiasm, high energy, because I think I see me in them, and that's what I had in the beginning, So no, we built what I call a funnel. So everyone starts at the top of this funnel, and it's all action. So we only move you to the next step by or per results. That's it. So I can think the world of you, but you're going to have to take action to move to the next step. And that funnel gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And as you get to the middle and to the lower sections, I guess, we got you doing a lot more masterminds with high level people that align with your goals. We got you doing a lot of cool things. I'm putting you in touch with people that are going to help you do some pretty cool things, but you have to work to get there. So no, I'm terrible at that, but this is why we've created a system of action-based results to identify who the true talent is.
Nice. So I know one of the things is we're a custom home builder. We haven't never really got into like the spec market or building speculatively, having multiple homes. We're starting to with townhomes, but not in this market. But one of the things that I know is a misconception, I believe, on our part that I want to make sure I address for the viewers, because I get asked this question sometimes by different real estate agents and things of that nature, is we have someone that's looking to build a custom home. So let's just say that you had a client moving from wherever and they're looking to build a custom home. They ask you who's one of the best builders in town. Hopefully it's Southeastern General Contractors. And so you refer them over to us. Now I've had an experience in the past to where, and I haven't really ever shared this publicly, but it's kind of one of those situations where I didn't even really know what to think and how to think about it. I won't name any names, but to generalize the situation, we had a client that was looking to build. This particular situation, the client didn't contact the real estate agent. They found us online. They contacted us, say, hey, we want to build a home. Well, we tell people the first thing you got to have is land. So in this situation, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you got to find some land. They're not in the land business, so right. They found some land. They wanted to make an offer on the land. The land, I think, was around $80,000, and they couldn't make the offer on the land because the folks that were selling the land, the real estate agent, basically told me that we won't sell you the land unless we actually not only just sell you the land, but we also need to get a commission of the build as well. Well, at that time, the home was around $600,000. The commission was like 6%, 3 and 3, and I'm a very transparent type of a guy, and I know when I'm asked certain questions, I'm going to tell you straight, just like how it is. Right. And I know some people look at things differently. I want to get your take on it. So a client asked me, we're wanting to buy this land. So let me get this straight, Ralph. We're wanting to buy the land. We don't mind paying a real estate agent their percentage on the land sale, but you're saying they won't sell me the land unless they are in on the actual portion of you building the home. Yeah. Do we need a realtor in that? Right. And so I was put in a very peculiar, and I've been done that way almost like 3 times over the course of like the past, say, 10 years.
That's not too bad. Three times out of 10 years.
I mean, is that normal? Like, is that a normal thing to where it's like, well, hey, if we sell you this land, only way we're going to sell you this land is if we come in on the build side as well. Is that a normal thing?
There's so many wrong things there. Like even the 6% thing, right? If they're just going to represent the buyers on one side, normally 6% is like I'm representing the seller, where I'm going to make 3%. And oh, by the way, I brought the buyer, and now I'm going to get 3% as well. So unless they're talking about 6% on the land, not necessarily the build, that would be kind of
that's
just one part.
That it was a little weird for me because I've never really been that in depth with the spec homes and the real estate agent and all that. We normally deal with folks directly, but essentially we were all game to buy the lot. We were going to make the full purchase offer, thinking we were going to buy the land or whatnot. And it's like, well, hell, wait a minute, we got to come in on the build side as well. So the deal fell through. Each one of those deals like that fell through.
Who owned the land? Did the agent own the land?
Yes.
They owned it too?
Yeah. And the excuse or the reasoning behind it was like, well, hey, Ralph, here's the reason. Why would I sell it to you, right? Mm-hmm. When I'm only going to make money off the sale of the land, when if I sell it to XYZ builder, they're willing to play ball and, they've got the commissions or the money's built into the price. Yeah. And the way I handle that is I let the client know basically exactly what the situation is. Like, hey, here's the deal. If you want this land, here's the number. If you want the land, this is what we got to do. Yeah. And it put me in a situation to where, you're adding another 3% on top of 600,000. Yeah, that's a
good chunk.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, and
so I don't see that happen a lot.
So no, it's just something that circumstance that I ran into.
Exactly. Yeah. Well. That's and out of three times out of 10 years, I would say it's not too bad. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to put myself in those shoes, and I think for me, I would just entertain the offer, but then I have to back up and say, what's the reason for their goals? Why are they trying to represent the buyer for their land, but also the buyer for the builder? Why is that? Do they have some personal stuff going on that they need to fund, right? So I don't know. I don't know what's going on behind that, but I haven't seen that too often.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ruben, what's the best investment you've made so far?
So what do you believe could pull any business out of any recession?
What do I believe could pull any business out of any recession?
Or any down market, or when things are going south?
Real estate.
Real estate? Okay. And then who's going to be able to push or keep that real estate afloat?
I don't know. You got me.
So someone asked me one time that question, and I was like, prospecting or real estate or tools or systems. And what it eventually was talent. Talent was people. You can't stop talent from creating the life they desire. Point blank. Period. You just can't. You can't stop them. You can put walls in front of them. You can try to put an ocean in front of them, and they're gonna make their way across the ocean and over the wall. Always. So our biggest investment is people, and it will always be people, because what I just said. If it's great times, cool. Then we're rowing faster than we've ever rowed. But if it's hard times and there's a storm, they don't stop rowing. There's so many people who do stop and say, "Oh well, man, this is a terrible storm. I'm just gonna stop here and quit. This sucks. I'm sweating. I don't want to sweat, or whatever it is." But man, when you start investing into talent and giving them more opportunity, because at least what we have found is that talent is more attracted to opportunity than money.
Facts.
Yeah. So if we can keep that bubble bigger and keep showing them more opportunity within our bubble, then they'll stick around. And so that's one of my biggest focuses, is constantly rubbing elbows with the right people and creating more opportunity for our talent. Our biggest investment is talent.
So you say that, it causes me to circle back to a previous question. When you're looking at talent, what characteristics can you look at really quickly and see, there's different levels to everything. You got A players, B players, C players, or whatnot. Sure. So when you're looking at talent, how do you discern who are the top talents within a pool that you may be looking at?
They don't ask a lot of questions. It's usually the telltale sign. They just take action, or they'll figure it out themselves. And I'm very reminded of this with this question. Just reminded me of one of our agents, And she was brand spanking new. I don't think she asked me one question before I knew she closed her first deal. And she's now one. I've got 2 agents who run all my deals here in Fayetteville. We do across the nation, but she's one of them because she didn't ask a question. She got the deal done, closed it, and everything, was telling the other agents some of the stuff they were missing. And this agent's been in the business for a while. So for us, they don't ask a lot of questions, and they GSD, right? They get stuff done. That is the telltale. It's very action based, very results based. And the only time they're asking you questions is for the next opportunity.
So basically, ready, shoot, aim.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, because they know they can clean it up.
Right.
And if they can't clean it up, they're going to ask if you can help clean it up, or you know somebody who can clean it up, but they're not afraid to make the mess. And that's kind of what I thrive in, right? We make messes. But at the same time, you have to have talent admin who cleans up the messes at a very high level, puts the systems back in order. So it gets both sides. It's sales, grind, growth people, and it's also systems, analytical, detailed-oriented talent people on the back end.
Nice. So talk to us about what was it like when would you say it's harder to reach your first 100,000 or your second 100,000, or your first million or your second million? Which one's harder? To walk us through that.
What do you consider to be hard? What's your definition of harder?
For me?
Yeah.
Man, in my line of business, everything's hard. There's nothing easy. Literally nothing's easy.
Yeah.
So landing a deal, closing a deal, it's all tough work. Except for sometimes there are the one-offs where you can, it's just like what you call lay down sale. Like they're already done the homework, they're already sold on you, your products, your services, your team, and they just come ready to do business. But that's very few.
Yeah. So and maybe I'll go back to this, watch this, and man, I should have said that earlier. But at the moment, I want to say the second half is the second portion or the second part, because I think I was so lost in the journey. I was ignorant. Ignorant is bliss. I was excited to be moving in a different direction. I was excited to learn. I was excited the people that I was around. So eventually when you hit that point, it was very exciting. Mm-hmm. And then you hit and then Matt Miller's got that, he's got one song where he's saying it in the middle. He's like, he says something about 100,000. Now I got to go back and listen to it. But that's a song of celebration. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The second half, I would say, and I was speaking in front of EXP Realty asked me to come down to Charlotte, North Carolina and speak to some of their top dogs. And I started off by saying, I've never been backstabbed so much than in this business. And that's how I started off. Yeah. Because the second half, the second journey, the second chapter, you find that, yes, you do get in contact with a lot more talent, but along that ride, man, there's some hurtful people, dude, and you can give your all to them. You can pour your love into them. People you looked up to, your mentors, and they say never meet your hero, right? And it's there's been a lot of pain, but more personal, not necessarily financial, I guess.
So how there's been a struggle for you, because a lot of the things you're saying is parallel to some of the stuff that I went through, even though you're in a kind of different lane than what I'm in. That's a struggle that I think sounds to me like a lot of us face when you start finding a certain level of success, when you're building teams, when you're building a business and you're building up people, and you have all these high expectations, especially if you see yourself in other people.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of us, we tend to see ourselves in everybody.
You
know what I mean? And that kind of sets us up for failure, or having the wrong expectations.
Yeah.
But I've had to kind of reel myself back in, because at some point in time, if you're not careful, you start to become bitter. You know what I mean?
I know.
And resentful, and then it's so how do you manage? How do you deal with that?
I think first, just like AA, you got to recognize you have a problem. Right? I mean, I remember talking to my wife, and I was like, growing up, you would see that business people were hard, quick to the answer, kind of rude. This is what the image you had. And at times I was like, I think because they've been hurt so many times that they've built up this shell, and they do come across rude or quick to the answer, or why are you really asking me this? What do you really want?
Right.
And because we have our own insecurities, because we've been hurt.
That's weird that you say that, because it's weird, because we've never had this conversation.
Yeah.
And yet I've had this conversation like with my wife and the other people that are around me. It's literally we're mirroring the same exact things.
Yeah.
Even though you're on a totally different path than what I'm on, it's the same things when you're building teams, trying to build up other people, and you've got the best intentions, but the best intentions doesn't guarantee a great outcome. Matter of fact, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work out the way that you've had it envisioned. Yeah. And so for me, I've had to learn as I go along the journey is to take those hits, learn the lessons that need to be learned. And over time, what I start to see is just like how you just said, you look at other business owners who are successful as they grow, as they get older, as they season. A lot of people will look at someone like you or would look at someone like me or look at this other business owner who are just, quick to the point, no BS. Like, you're like, yeah, here's the answer. Here, just do what I'm telling you, and it will work. And then some people will take that and be like, they totally take it the wrong way, or they'll look at someone who's successful, and they would totally like want to dismiss their success because they think it came easy, and that they never struggled for it, And so for me, one of the things I've learned is that you have to find people at the right time.
Yeah.
Someone said, or I've heard it somewhere said before, is like when the student is ready, the teacher will show up.
So true.
And it's just something I've had to work on for so long because I started becoming bitter.
Yeah.
You invest all this time and you invest all this energy, and then all of a sudden, it doesn't work out the way you envisioned.
Yeah.
So what does the next chapter for you look like? Where are you at now, and kind of like what's on your vision board moving forward?
Yeah. I mean, we're looking at, I guess personal and professional, right? Mm-hmm. Personal, I've turned into I'm getting a lot more connected with like a who am I type of conversation at this moment. A lot of those questions like, why am I so quick? Because, we could kind of say that, we've been backstabbed so many times and put up that wall and be like, this is why I act this way. So what? Or we can kind of reflect back on ourselves and be like, well, what can I do to make this better for myself and for everyone around me? And I think before you can even ask that question, you got to start identifying who you are now in this world. At this time, what are your true values? What do you believe in? And so I'm on that journey at the moment, and understanding energies between people and things and what we're taught and propaganda everywhere, and like all the things and just identify, kind of scraping all that away and like, who am I truly, So the personal journey, that's what's going on. I'm telling you, man, you become a lot more happier without so much material things in your world in terms of like just, what do I have that someone else doesn't have, or what do they have that I don't have, or just looking at pictures and swiping and just other people's life, getting connected back with yourself is a journey I'm on at the moment. So nice. A little hippie stuff,
Yeah, a little hippie there.
Little hippie there. So I'm trying to figure all that out.
Yeah.
But it's a good journey. And in the business side, still do, personal, what I'm going to do, which is start to find the right people within, our talent circle that can create more opportunity. And we're doing a good job with that. We're headed to South Carolina this weekend, Orlando, Florida next month, and rubbing elbows with the right people and creating opportunity. And the biggest thing for us right now is to identify, run a needs analysis. I know I touched on this earlier with our agents as they start moving down this funnel. What's their goal? What about their goal is important to them? Where are they at now? And what's the gap? How can we help them get to that goal? And truly the why behind the goal is our big professional push. So it is focus on that person, their journey, their end goal. If it's got to do with me or not me or the company I'm with or another company, it doesn't even matter. Like it's very focused on that agent. And through that we'll win. The byproduct is that the group or the team or the overall vision, which it's growing like crazy the more we focus on the agent and the individual. And help them hit their personal and professional goals as well.
And so I imagine when you do that, you help those folks reach their goals. That attrition, those folks are the ones who stick around the longest. So I would imagine, of course, right?
Yeah. There's a quote that goes, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care."
Yeah.
And if you can start systematically and scaling people's growth towards their goals, again, no matter if it meets my overall goal, or it meets my company's, the one I'm with at the moment. None of that matters. If we're going to help them, and dude, have you ever seen a realtor retirement party? Never. Yeah, it doesn't exist, right? Because companies traditionally want you in the office because they have to use your company dollar your split to pay to keep that office running. We don't care about any of that. like leave the company, have enough passive income to just enjoy Jamaica for the rest of your life. I don't care whatever your goals look like. If we can help them do that, the byproduct is that we'll succeed.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like.
One of the things I try to tell like my team, when I say my team is, the folks that's in our office, it could be our team of subcontractors and vendors, is that I see there's a real lack of people knowing the value of a long-term relationship. It's like everybody is so transactional.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They look at it like whatever's in front of them. If it's my line of work, it's a $500 mistake. It's a $1,000 mistake.
Yeah.
It's an oversight. And it just blows my mind that so many people are willing to throw away relationships and terminate relationships. And it's not just with the subs and the vendors, but you've got clients.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. You know what I mean? The same thing. And I think if people would stop and realize, and this is what I try to do, is, take the time to let it be a teachable moment. Say, hold on a minute, guys. Ruben, what are we doing? Mark, what are we doing? We're over $500.
Yeah.
I mean, how much money do you think we can make together in 5 years?
Yeah.
You know?
Would you say that you're a different person now than you were 3 years ago?
For sure.
Yeah. So do you think that some people right now is being very transactional for maybe a reason? Maybe they're just trying to get out of their current situation. They're trying to fund a family member that has cancer or something, and they feel it's wrong, but they're doing it at the moment. But fast forward 3 to 5 years, you meet them again, they may apologize. I guess this new hippie thing, I'm trying to come from curiosity of why people do the things they do and not take it at face value. Like, oh, you screwed me, you're cut, you're done. You're not gonna come around me, my circle, my loved ones, and go down that,
That's that part of becoming that bitter,
Yeah, exactly right.
Or trying to be understanding. That's what I try to do that as well too, because at the end of the day, we're going to do what we're doing till we can't do it anymore. And I believe we're going to look back, and then that's where a lot of us, if we're not careful, we're going to look back. Man, I wish I would have handled that differently. Yeah, man, I wish I would have done this differently.
That's what I'm going through. That's what I'm going through right now. Yeah, man. There's so much I wish I would have handled differently, dude. You're exactly right. But if somebody, there's a book or there's a saying that says, there's a million versions of you in this world. You cut off somebody because you're trying to get to your house because something's on fire or whatever it might be. But the person you cut off, they're going to look at you, they're going to look at your company and be like, worst company. That's a version of you. They don't know the version that you're just trying to get to the house because half your house is on fire and you're trying to save somebody. So, it's one of those things where you got to do the very best you can to keep getting better and being better. But along the way, you're going to cross people the wrong way, and they're going to forever see you as that version until you guys meet again. At UPS, which I was there for 12 years before I quit and went to real estate. If there was two dudes that didn't like each other, you know what they did?
What they did?
They put them in the same trailer. So, right now, 90-something degrees outside, and the trailer is like 130. Wow. You and I, we got to work together to fill this thing up so we can get off faster. We hate each other. We're cussing at each other. Like, we're pushing each other. Man, there's been some crazy stuff that goes on.
I hope to see your process once you just said, I'm like, I don't know if that'll work in Robinson County.
Yeah. Well,
you put two people don't like one.
I'm telling you, and the supervisors knew what they were doing. There was some scuffles, right? But I'm telling you, at the end of the day, they work out their differences because they both have the same goal. They both want to just go home to their family. A little bit better version than they were and a little bit richer, right? Yeah. They made a paycheck. And I'm telling you, man, like if those people I did wrong, which I'm in the mix of doing now, I'm trying to go to these people and talk with them. But if we just did that, we would meet, and I bet we'd find we're a lot more similar than what the past maybe things were done that at the time we're trying to protect ourselves or whatever it might be. Yeah. But yeah, so maybe a little bit of that where they meet you again in the future and they really get to find out who you are truly. And that's one of the things we did at UPS. Put them together. Tell you at the end of the trip.
So what?
They were tight.
Did you get into a scuffle?
One, and it was pretty easy. I mean, and I only say that because it was a smaller dude, and I should again. What? We're gonna have to talk. We're gonna talk. I'm going to meet you again. But at the end, we still talk to this day. We're good friends. You don't remember in high school where people would get in a fight, but at the end they would shake hands like it was a thing. Yeah. And they finish their differences. They understand why they both did it, and there's a mutual respect because of it too.
So tell us about some breakthroughs that you've had.
Personal or professional? I guess professional. Let's stick to professional. Before you have me crying. One of the biggest breakthroughs I would say was believing in something that I was told not to believe in, that I felt would be a better situation for myself and my family. And that was when I left my last company. I was trying to do some different things with some people there that went against the model that was at that company. But we thought it would work, right? And we had visions and we wanted to really create some stuff. But eventually we were just told that it's not going to work. Don't do it, and this is from leadership too. And so there's a book. Have you heard the book Extreme Ownership?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Have you read it?
Not yet.
Not yet. In there it says, don't complain about what you tolerate. Mm-hmm. And what I found is that every single time I'd go in there and I'd complain about what I'm tolerating, right? Like, what's the point? Like, if I want to change, then who's got to make the change? I'm waiting for them to make the change. It's me. I got to make the change. It's my fault. Everything's my fault. So once I had identified that and I figured out that I can run this different type of model with the people I want to run it with at a different company, I was mad scary. But it was probably one of the biggest risks I took at the time, but one of the biggest breakthroughs I've had, because I did make the move. And on all levels, we've done better. And we've been able to run that play. And not only that, we've been teaching that play at this company. Nice. Because it works, because it's no overhead, no liability, and almost 100% leveraged type of real estate model to help agents scale out. Because again, this industry doesn't teach you that. It teaches you to sell real estate till the day you die, because they need that company dollar. Wow. So yeah, I would say that was probably one of the biggest breakthroughs, one of the scariest times, dude. I felt like I broke up with my girlfriend for like 5 months. I was womp womp,
Yeah.
And then I just started I felt so light in my house. And I told my wife that, I was like, man, I feel so light after like 5 weeks of womp womp.
Yeah.
And she was like, you've been carrying weight for so long, you forgot you were carrying it. And she was right.
Yeah.
She was right, because I was complaining about what I tolerated.
So what did that look like when you decided to stop, tolerating?
So, again, action-oriented, we'll clean up the mess later. It took me 2 days. So I told the leadership what I was going to do, when I was going to move. They later flipped it on me, and it was a character assassination. They came after my license 3 times that first year. But it took me 2 days, I want to say, 2 days to make the decision, and I switched companies in 2 days. And I was with I was the CEO at that office, so I was very well intertwined to everything there. But I had to make the decision, and
that's pretty powerful, because in my line of work, it's the same thing. You get exactly what you're tolerating, and I've been told many times with the way that we do things. We do things a little bit differently with our processes, with trades, with subs, with vendors, and I had to come to that same conclusion. It's like, why isn't this working the way that I've got it envisioned? We've made this mistake before. Why do we keep making the same mistake and being a nice guy? Wanting to, have a certain level of relationship with different people. But at the end of the day, at some point in time, you get to the point where it's like, what, this is insanity. We're getting the same results. Even though you may be trying to do something a little bit different, you're getting the same results. And the bottom line is it's because you're tolerating it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my flaws was I would wait. I would wait till I got to a point where I was so frustrated with that particular thing to where I would lash out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I kind of overcorrected.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So how, what is that balance? And what I found is simple, and I found also too, the basics is communication, expectation, setting expectations, communications up front, and just being frank right out of the gate. Like, hey, here's what I tolerate. Here's what I don't tolerate.
Yeah.
And the moment someone steps across that line is you have to check that situation very quickly. And you know what? For me, I used to be concerned about, well, you know what, especially if you and I have a relationship outside of, our business dealings, how this is going to affect that relationship. And one day I came to the thought of like, you know what, why am I worried about that? Because if me and Ruben's good outside of this isn't going to affect anything, because he knows he's screwed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we can't have that conversation and then, be men about it and say, you know what, I did kind of slack off on that. You won't have to worry about that no more with me. Then, once I came to that thought process, it's like, okay, sometimes you have to start over though. And that's the sad thing about the industry. And because once you've already got an expectation or a a process that you work with someone, it's hard to change it after the fact.
Right.
So it's almost like you have with us subcontractors, vendors, or what have you, who are used to working with us a certain way, and we're like, okay, we're not tolerating that anymore.
Yeah.
It's like you're better off almost just starting anew with the new trade, a new vendor, a new subcontractor, and setting those expectations right out of the gate. And then that just becomes like a cycle. But what I've found is as you're going through that cycle, when you look back, there's where all your improvement happens.
Yeah.
And it's nothing that happens really overnight. It's one thing that happens, but you can see, well, hey, it's just been a slow, steady pace of improvement. And that's one of the things I've found that has helped us kind of grow and steady move forward with, mastering our craft. I wouldn't say perfecting it, but and that's something that we love, is the slow, steady pace of always getting better at what we do. Now, moving forward with you, what does the future look like for you guys? Or what is your long-term vision?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to touch on everything you just said though, real quick, is like, you guys flipped the game though. When all the adjustments you guys did was from the outside, pretty cool, right? You started setting up cameras on job sites. Your signs were lit up. Little stuff like that. Like, you can see your sign lit up on the job site at night. Yeah. I mean, it was a whole bunch of new stuff that we saw come to the market in terms of the type of builder you are. And it was cool. For us as agents, it was a fresh, new look. So good for you for going kind of pushing against the grain and holding a value. Like, this will be the new thing. And anytime we find that we want to do a new thing, we will apologize, by the way. We'll take ownership and we'll say, hey, listen, my bad. We've been tolerating this for this long. That's on me. Right. But since it is on me, I have to fix this thing. Right. And I hate that I have to keep dragging you through the mud and it has to be the same type of process. And we both have headaches at the end of the day. Would it be best for us to just fix this issue between you and I? Right. That's what they say. Right. Yeah. So, but you got to take ownership of it. It is your fault, and apologize and move on and put it in the system and move on. It's going to be better for everyone.
I would tell people, like, for those of you who are looking, now that you mentioned that, I'll share something with you. I've struggled in those areas. And when you're steady pushing the envelope or doing something that's not the norm, like for me, I always question myself, hey, people say, hey, nobody's done it. You can't do this. And even people calling, complaining to have the local jurisdiction say, oh, you can't do that. That you don't have a permit for that.
Right.
Light job site signs that light up.
Oh, wow.
That's against ordinance, blah, 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 blah. And what I found out, though, is that when you do things like that and others come against you to try to stifle that, what happens is the people who are for you shows up in the most inconspicuous places, like the people who are over the ordinances, saying, well, hey, here's what you need to do. What you need to do is put a coming soon sign on your job site sign, and that'll allow you to do that. Yeah. So how soon can you have that on your job? And that's the real thing. Yeah. And for me, I've always been
you need to throw it in the system. Huh? Then it's in the system.
It's coming soon. But now I can have an LED lighted display sign that doesn't have super good permits because it's a job site sign with an address of a project that's coming soon. And I found out most people want to see you win, especially when you're trying to do the right thing. When the odds are stacked against you. Yeah. It's just like a movie. People want to see the underdog, win. They want to see them score a touchdown. And so for me, I've always had that drive to be different, do a really good job. And I just genuinely always want people who have invested in us or trust our company to feel like they're getting 10 times the value in what they're paying us for. Yeah. And what that means to me is you got to do things differently. You got to be better. You got to think outside the box. You got to be creative. You got to be different. You got to find ways to bring value, which it's gets kind of boring with construction. It's just walls, it's roofs. Everybody can build. Any builder that's got a general contractor's license, who's got experience, we all doing the same thing. Yeah. What makes you different? What makes you stand out?
How many of them have started podcasts? You're adjusting, right? Yeah. You're adjusting. What's a new platform, a new media that we can deliver value to the market? You're doing what you're supposed to do, I guess is what I'm saying.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what questions, from the real estate side of things and from your perspective, what questions do you think that folks that are following you, just going, following you on your journey, would they want to ask a builder or get some insight from your side of the fence looking this way?
Yeah, if somebody's looking for a builder, I think, let's go back to day one. They start thinking about building. I think the first thing they're going to wonder is cost, right? Is that the biggest challenge you find?
So normally what happens on a typical phone call, there's first phone calls, it's people want to know if we have land. We have a builder. Yeah, I mean, it's there. We get that
Do
question.
you have an in-house agent? I know we were talking with your
No,
wife.
we never really went down that. We started going down that
Yeah.
path, but we don't. So the way our system works now is we have an orientation process to where if it's online, if it's from a phone call, we redirect them to our website to put in their information, and we've got pre-recorded videos where we guide them through. Answering majority of the questions, but they typically will ask, hey, do you have land? Do you have, stock floor plans? And we have to kind of, let people know that we're custom builder.
Yeah.
So you start out where you've got a whole array of people just coming in, and then, like you said, the funnel, we narrow it down until we get to the ideal client, which will probably be out of 10 phone calls that we get, 2 of them will be the ideal client for us. But, the power is knowing who those ideal clients are, who fits our persona as far as the type of client that works well with us. So we go through that process. We work with them, find out exactly what they're looking for. They ask about land. They ask about timeline. Of course, they ask about budgeting. Those do your typical things. And we always let people know very upfront, if you're going to have any issues with us, it's going to be 2. Those timeline and budget. We're not the shotgun style approach home builder. We take our time, we do it right, or we're not going to do it at all. And I had to come to the conclusion where I was willing to risk that, meaning like, hey, I'm not going to cut corners. I'm not going to do this for the sake of, just landing a deal. Because I've had
making the timeline, right?
Making the timeline, because, the thing is, everybody will say, hey, I need to get this done. We're on a timeline.
Yeah.
But what happens when you're supposedly done, the expectation doesn't change.
Yeah.
They still expect quality.
Yeah.
And now you're having to go back in after the fact and redo work, and now they're frustrated. So for us, we've learned to set a certain standard, identify clients who are, the best fit for what we do and how we do it. And we let people know up front before we even really talk to them, a lot of the times, what our price points are for square foot, what our timeline is, how long it's going to take us to do a job, and some of the challenges that they're going to have to overcome if they want to hire us as their builder. And some of those are, clients visiting the job site. I know you've heard that. I know that's the talk, but like, how do you get homeowners not visiting the job site?
I remember you doing a video and like, hey, listen, if you do, and we're asking you not, but if you do, and you hear some choice words, just understand this is the construction crew, and this is the kind of people that you're going to rub. Of course, right? This is a little bit more roughneck than somebody who's just going to be putting up, chips in the Iowa food land.
Right.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So, but I remember, but this is when I go back to it, right? Like you go back and you set that expectation. You do a really good job of that. So let me ask you a question. I mean, since you are very well detail oriented in getting the product out at 100+%, how do you feel you're going to be with spec homes? More of a cookie cutter, if you ever do approach that?
Yeah, so we do have a.
And not saying, by the way, that I don't want to. There's no dogging any other builders, and not saying that the quality is crap, but it just sounds like you have especially coming from that type of build quality, you have an eye to a lot more.
It's a concern.
Yeah.
I mean, it has been a concern for a long time. I've stayed away from it because I didn't want to mix the two, because the anxiety with that is that we've built a brand that is known to deliver a premium product, premium quality, and we do that, right? And you would think that the average person knows that if we're building at $200 or $220 a square foot or $250 a square foot, we're now building speculative homes at $175 or what. There's a reason there's a difference there.
So would you have a sister company versus?
That's the idea, is to create a different brand, tailoring just to that market. But even at the same time, we're not. I just can't go there and have the crown molding and no. So it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be, I think, where my team is going to probably hey, we're not doing custom homes here. these are spec homes, these are spec homes. And the first project that we're doing, I think I set ourselves up the best way possible to enter into that market. That's where we went and bought out a development, and we're doing the townhomes. And so we're dual purposing. We're wearing both hats, the developer and the builder's hat. So we get to come in on both sides, and we're going to build them to a certain level. It won't be to the level that we do custom homes where we do Bondo and the trim and make sure we sand all the stuff down where it looks like one piece PVC molding.
Yeah.
Of course, we can't do that level of care, but comparing what we're doing at that rate to what everybody else is doing, we still want to be, a little bit above par, because we, at that point, is strictly about bringing a product to market at a certain price.
Yeah. The pieces that are going to be above par. So you walk down a wine aisle. Most wine is bought because of the label, right? Because it looks cool or whatever. I don't drink wine like that, so I don't know. But this is what I've heard, right? So for you, will the above par pieces be more visual? Because I know you do stuff that you can't see, but there's a lot more. It's a lot more sound. Is that? Because as the end buyer, right, they want to see more visual. They want to see.
Well, see, there, what comes to mind is the golden rule and the platinum rule for some reason. I was told that on one of our job sites is, the golden rule is, of course, you treat others the way, you want to be treated. And the platinum rule is you treat people the way they show you they want to be treated.
Yeah.
So in the approach of when we're building spec homes per se, there's going to be a certain standard that we're going to do, that we're going to carry over, I think, across the board, that will be above par, meaning like on the structural side of things. It's not co-requirement to do compaction testing on our footings, right? We're going to do that. We're not eliminating that. We're going to go and still test the compaction of each one of our buildings to make sure that it's above par.
Right.
And the reason why we do that, number one, is liability, because just as well as I do, when you're building that many homes, their chances are that you're going to have some structural issues. Yeah. Well, how do we eliminate that? Well, you spend that extra $600,
right?
To go do those compaction tests on the footings. And worst case scenario, if that compaction test does come back and say, hey, your soil is a little loose here, guess what we're doing? We're having to go there and excavate that loose soil and put gravel there. So that cuts out of your bottom line number when you're selling.
So I guess, would the sister company have its own YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, right? So once the first one hits of that, all you do is document it, right? So you start telling the story of your spec homes are a little bit better, but you're showing the story of it, like, hey, we just caught this. Now we're going to show you that we're going to do this. We're going to pack it a little bit, or whatever that process looks like. And boom, you got the story being told on YouTube. So not only when they start researching, you have a story to be told for the things that you found the quality wasn't up to par that you fixed. It's going to be cool.
So, and I guess it's, in my mind, it's like this: anybody can go out and build, these spec homes or these custom homes, or what makes you different, what makes you unique. So I think the core will still be there even with that. We're still going to demand our job sites, look cleaner, be cleaner, be more organized. We're going to expect an above average level of work ethic, quality.
Right.
And the leverage with that is beforehand on custom homes, it's, a certain accolade, amongst the trades.
Right.
But now, it's more so, hey, there's 94 units here.
Yeah.
Yes. There's 94 units. And if you want these 94 units, I need you to not be here. I need you to be there. And as long as you're there, these 94 units are yours.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's all about, still serving. This is how we serve our community. This is how we make money. This is how we, do everything that we set out to do. And just because we're trying to go into a spec market where most people believe it's all about doing it quickest, fastest, cheapest way, and trying to turn the highest profit, which we are in it for profit. But if I could sacrifice, 2 to 5% on certain things and get the quality up even higher to where it helps me stand out above and beyond, then that's probably going to be the route that we go.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting journey to see how we take what's worked for us over here and figure out how to apply it in a different market and it still serve our overall goals.
Yeah, and I think if anybody, especially if you listen to this podcast, is you do the team does a really good job of telling the story of what you guys do. And I think, if we look at the market, you're probably going to do a really good job, more than others, of telling the story from where it's originating, what's going to be your value and your standard, and actually show the proof in the pudding of you taking action and moving through it. And I think you might have an advantage there because you've done so well with telling your story with this company.
Yeah, appreciate that. And so, we're going to take the same approach with that. I said we probably are going to just start up a different LLC, different brand.
Yeah.
You
already have one in mind?
A name? Kind of, sort of, but we haven't settled on it. There's a whole strategy and a whole angle to that. So,
are we gonna hear it first time here on this podcast?
Well,
you don't have to.
Yeah, I don't know.
But who am I? I gotta ask. The viewers are like,
right.
Yo, I want to know.
So I guess to elaborate on it, I'll share. I mean, it's no biggie. Okay. I mean, my daughter's working with us, and the idea is to mentor her, train her, give her behind the scenes kind of VIP access, if you will, the insider seat to this business. As she's going along, if she wants to kind of get into that role, the idea would be to set up this LLC, this separate company, to do things like that. And there's a whole strategy behind setting up this other company.
Right.
But the idea is to have her head that, have her get licensed and have her kind of familiar with not just this side of the business where it's the admin, the paperwork, the license, the permits and all that, but actually being able to go out in the field, learn exactly what are footings, what is the rebar, what's the purpose of the rebar, and actually know the in-depth process of construction just as well as she does the admin side.
Right.
And then, of course, one of the things that we've done since we last talked is we've gotten more into commercial development, of course, and we've gotten more into government contracting.
Yep.
So we're pivoting more, getting not so much heavily dependent on the custom homes.
Yeah.
But we're moving and pivoting more towards the commercial development and the government contracting.
Right.
But those are going to be the two main pillars that I see for us here in the near future will be the commercial development, government contracting. And I'm always going to see a spot for custom homes, even though we're moving more away for that. But the thing I'm most thankful with the custom homes is that it's taught us everything we know. We wouldn't even be at the table without the custom homes. So we're always going to have that leg of what we're doing, but it'll be highly selective. Because what I found out is that with the custom homes, it's the side of the business that takes up all the resources. You can have one or two custom home projects and it will utilize every bit of your resources and still demand more.
Yeah.
Right. And from a business standpoint, at some point in time, when you really lay it out on the table, that's the side. If you compared it to commercial, to government, and then you're looking at custom homes should pay 10 times what it's paying.
Yeah.
Because of all the attention to detail, the resources and everything that it requires. But of course, that the market cannot support that when you're comparing it. So I always look at still having, if not but one project, maybe two of those, just because of there's no other or better way to learn this industry than to learn it from building custom homes.
Oh, that's a good point.
The communication skills, the expectation skills, the fact that you're dealing with someone with their emotions, and this is something they've worked 20 years to save up for. So it's always a high pressure situation, and it weeds out people very quickly, from superintendents to just any level that you're subcontractors. Most people can't work to that level. But those who can work to that level, if you can build a custom home, especially survive and thrive building custom homes, I believe there's nothing that you can't do. And I tell people that. So I think the only thing that's more complicated maybe than building custom homes and mastering it and having people liking and loving you after the job's done, and a consistently high rate, is maybe neurosurgery, brain surgery, more difficult. So I'm proud that we've pulled that off, but I'm also glad to know that we're seeing us transition into other things and building upon that foundation, which helps us succeed easier in these other endeavors like commercial development and government contracting.
Wow, dude! I guess I never really looked at it, but you're right. And so what? Okay. Aspiring builder, and they're saying, you know what, I'm gonna start with, did you ever flip homes? Right. So I'm gonna start flipping homes first. I'm gonna figure this out, and then I'm gonna move on to like a plan that I can purchase online or whatever this is. I'm gonna move it, and then but you didn't take this ladder approach. You took I'm just going to jump in the middle of the ocean and find out which shark I can wrestle with, right? Like,
well, I mean, my family pretty much taught me, like, so quick story, backstory is I worked as an electrician. I decided to go get my GC license. My family was in the construction space and said, hey, if you pass the exam, the test and get your license, we'll frame the house. We know brick masons, blah, blah, blah. Our whole neighborhood grew up, in various trades. I didn't know any better. And I didn't think about it. I just went and did it.
This is what I'm saying. Our first year, ignorance is bliss.
It is.
You just kind of move through it. That's awesome.
And so I just said, you know what? Okay, all I got to do is pass an exam. Okay, cool. Boom. What do I got to do? All right, got to take this course, go guide the book, go study. And I literally did that. Failed the first time, second time. My first failure, I knew I was going to fail. I went in expecting to fail. I didn't care about passing. You know what I mean? So I went in, and afterwards, and I got the result I expected. But the beautiful thing about that is when I left, I stayed in my car and I wrote down every single question I could remember. There was 85 questions or something like that in the exam. I got to like 40 something or what have you until I just kept repeating the same thing. Yeah. So I left, and over the course of the next week or so, I would remember a new question. I would write it down. I did that for maybe a week or two until I had over 100 questions. And I'm like, why there's only 85? So I just started studying those lists of questions.
Yeah.
Second time around, I passed it in 30 minutes. And from there, I went on. I quickly formulated a game plan. Okay, I want to learn how to draw the plans. Because if I learn how to draw the plans and I build the home, either way, I'm going to fail really miserably, really quickly, or I'm going to succeed. If I do that, then nobody can take that away from me.
Yeah.
So the plan worked exactly how I quickly formulated. I went and worked for free, for a little while. With Charles Smith and Associates. Well, I went there, I started designing my own plans. I went there to his place to print it. And when I went there to print out the plans, because I didn't have a plotter, he offered me a job. And I told him exactly what my plans were. He laughed, thought I was joking. Yeah, well, here's a C. And I went in, did exactly what I planned to do. But the only thing that didn't happen the way I planned it was I was expecting that I would get referred over a client. Because that, they're coming in needing a builder.
Yeah.
That never happened. And so a real estate friend of mine actually knew that I was brand new licensed, knew I didn't have no experience whatsoever.
Who was it?
Ann Locklear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So she knew she had a client.
Remax.
I don't know who she's doing now. But Ann Locklear.
I hope if she listens to this, she's like, no.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
So shout out to Ann Locklear.
Yeah.
She put me on to my first client, and the deal was simple. I draw the house plans, design the plans for free, and I took a fixed fee of $10,000 to do the home, and it should have been $50,000 at the time.
Hey,
but you know what? Yeah. They took a chance with me, and
sure.
Everybody was telling me at the time it was like a $400,000 home back then, which would be over $1 million.
Yeah, 45 million.
Yeah, it was like so crazy. And I jumped off in the deep end.
Yeah,
and I didn't think twice. But I knew I'm either going to make it or I'm going to fail. But if I fail, I'm going to fail quickly. And I let them know up front that this is my first home. That's the $10,000 fee.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about it was, like you said, it's when you don't even think about it. Just jump in.
Yeah.
And I think that just from the sheer numbers, 50-50.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a better odds, you know what I mean? I mean, to me, that was really great odds.
Yeah.
And so what I learned is that, number one, having good subcontractors is a thing I did that I didn't realize I was doing. I had my family backing me, my framer, the brick mason, they all talked.
Yeah.
And that's, if I was teaching and mentoring someone, that's part of the biggest thing is making sure that your team is talking, communicating at the right stages to make sure everything comes together the way that it needs to. So they helped me out without even me realizing it, at the very beginning, which was very integral for me succeeding. Yeah. And a beautiful thing happened on that project that I didn't expect. What that was is during the process, I'm thinking and already got in my mind that I'm making $10,000. I'm losing money. Like, you figure 6 to 8 months at $10,000, that's crazy to even think about that.
Yeah.
But
we're going to think about it.
I ain't going to think about it. And during the middle of the project, I had negotiated a certain few trades that I would take on.
Right.
The framing, the boxing, the siding. because my family did that.
Yeah.
Right. So out of those 2 or 3 trades, when everything settled, I had made an extra 10 grand. And that portion was they were paying cash.
Right.
So I remember one Friday when we were settling up with the cruise, I'm looking and I'm paying everybody out. They had paid me what we had agreed to, and I'm paying everybody. And when you do a good job and you watch your numbers really well, and you make sure your materials didn't get wasted, and you're making sure that everything production stays moving, and you do the job correctly ahead of time, there's benefits and there's perks.
Yeah.
Part of those perks was that I was sitting on an extra $10K in cash. And when I realized that after I had paid what I was obligated to pay, and everybody was happy, homeowners are happy, subcontractors are happy, and I'm sitting with an extra $10K, so now it's $20,000.
Yeah.
And I had a couple more trades to go that I negotiated like that. So long story short, when it was all said and done, I went from $10K to $30K.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so bad then.
Yeah.
And I knew from that moment, I'm like, I can do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was a big motivating factor for me because I learned how to do my own takeoffs. I went and got the software. I got the books. I read the books. I learned 2x8 mud seals, 2x2 ledgers.
Yeah.
I learned how to do the formulas for it. I did the takeoff, and when it got to the job site, I counted it. I'm making sure.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into the business. And after the first one, it was like, okay, nobody can take this away from me. I designed it. I built it. I took it. Went from $10,000. I ended up right at 40 when it was all said and done. Everybody's happy, and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah. So I got a question and a suggestion. Oh, dang, where'd that question go? Do you wish that you would have documented your journey through your first one in terms of video, telling about your struggles, your wins, what you messed up on to the camera? Do you wish you would have documented your very first one?
Most definitely.
100%. And that's why we tell all our agents, like, start documenting now. You're fast forward, you're gonna love going back to yourself and watching your old version struggle but push. And it's gonna be this is the deeper thing. It's gonna be a great thing. Do you have a grandmother, grandfather that you wish you would have seen their life, their struggles, the things they've been through? Do you have anyone like that in your family?
Oh, yeah.
Right. We have the technology now to ensure that our family does.
Wow.
So fast forward 6, 7, 10 generations, they're going to see you. And if you've created something pretty big where they're still living in it or whatever that infinite game is, they can go back and watch your story. The tears, the struggles, the wins, the ups, the downs, the whole thing, right? So that's cool. And I just wanted to make that point. This is why we document all our investment properties. It's for my daughter to see, and it's in the trust, right? She's got to watch these things and see what she's getting. She's got to watch the struggles, and then her kids get to watch, whatever. So that's number one. The suggestion would be, now, is that home still here? Do you need to go back and you need to bring a camera crew and walk through and don't go before this camera crew shows up. The real raw emotion of seeing the pop nail that you could not get in, or something, like whatever is going on with that house. And that's where I stubbed my toe, and retell the journey. You've got that opportunity.
That's a great.
That'd be a great video. It's your first home. Be a great video, dude.
Yeah, that's awesome. We definitely need to put that on the vision board to do it for sure.
Yeah.
So from there, it's been just one long journey. It's been it's at times it's a complete struggle, and like I said, with the emotions of people's, cause that's all we did for many years, is just custom homes.
Yeah. And
now that we've gotten into commercial and government, I'm finding ourselves like I can't believe how easy it is. Yeah, it sometimes almost like self-sabotage. It should be harder. I used to think being hard.
Yes.
Like, what is this? I'm not this. There's something
100%.
Something's wrong here. This should be this.
Some of the journey that I said with myself, I can self-sabotage things because it's been such a grind for so long that it doesn't seem real if it comes easier than what it's supposed to. So I try to find the false flags, the cracks, or who's doing so and so wrong. It's a self-sabotage because it's all you've known for years to claw yourself up to a decent place. And so that's a totally relate to that.
And one thing I do want to make sure I touch on that I know that we probably want to skip over is you triggered my thought when you said about documenting the process, like the journey.
Mm-hmm.
We've made videos, but nothing intentional like that. But one of the things that we are doing is I'm developing a software, and this part is going to be my vision is to give back to future generations. So we've documented and made checklists and systematized the whole process step by step by step.
Yeah.
And so we're developing a software, Contractor Buddy, is the name of the software, is where we've essentially creating our own checklist software. But the difference is that this software will not only lay out in order, in sequential order, what needs to happen from start all the way to finish, but also, how like when you hire someone new, you got to train them.
Yeah.
You got to show them exactly what to do. And then, if you want to replicate that, you document that.
Yeah.
Kind of the same concept where you document each step, even if it's just a simple process like here's how you go to the process of pulling a building permit.
Yeah.
Step 1, step 2. But then you've got videos to explain and show what to do. Well, we take those videos, apply them at each particular step in the process. So if you, who have never maybe built before, wanted to go build, we would sit you down, plug you into the software, and you would go literally where that checkbox is or the video, you click play. And I'm explaining to you exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And how to do it.
Okay.
Then you go execute. Now, when you execute, you attach that PDF of the building permit, proving that you've learned what you needed to learn on that step because you actually obtained the building permit.
Right.
Now, when you scale that out, literally across the whole spectrum of building, that's what we're in the process of making.
Have you been building this for years?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I saw a little example of it. You had you still have it, the TV right there. I think I saw a little bit. Yes, that's sick. So it'd be like kind of an e-course thing as well, right?
Well, it'll be kind of like an e-course, but also it'll be a project management tool. It'll dual purpose as a training tool for new people, but also you can turn around and make that into a job.
Could you, somewhere along the line, could you, and I don't know if this is something you're even, or if it doesn't make sense in that type of business model, could you ask for a piece of equity of the company for consulting to help them scale? So that way you start to, this would be another company, of course, but you would have a company that invests in builders as well. But again, the funnel proves this person's talented, they're willing to go through it. So not invest in everyone. But now you've kind of distributed enough capital, but also built a pretty good enterprise of builders with different brands, but the consulting, the mentoring, on-call type, but you do have equity in each one of these companies too.
Most definitely. Yeah, we're starting. I mean, where we're at right now is where we've got a path on where we're at and where we're going to be, say, in 5 years or 10 years.
Right.
And the way that I've always done it is I would have it in my phone, kind of in my notes, whatever, and I would always refer back to it. But now building out a team, and this thing is, getting bigger than myself, is actually getting it somewhere to where it's a shared collaborative vision.
Right.
One of the things I've had to grow over the years is, with the entrepreneurship books, the trainings, the building up teams, systematizing, scaling, and all that, is making sure that the team also understands where we're going, what the vision is,
right?
Where we're at, and how we're going to get from here to there.
Yeah.
What is the critical milestones? And so we're definitely working on putting that in place. But yeah, I mean that's a big, huge step for us, and for me, it's going to be one of the things that when it's all said and done, I can look back and I can say, you know what, I can see where I've kind of at least had some type of impact, and people that wants to start learning the building industry can just plug and play.
Yeah.
It'll be so simple.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I thought this was hard.
Yeah.
And which will be a benefit to them. But then for someone who went actually build, you have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea the sweat, the toll that it took to put this system together.
Yeah.
And I did a quick calculation just on the quick things that I could recollect from the process we have in place. There's over $2 million in problems, issues that I've had to pay along that route.
Oh, wow.
If you follow it
Yeah.
You don't have to make those same mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you've got over 3,000 steps in the process, and you imagine any one of them could be a $500 mistake.
Yeah.
$1,000 mistake, $5,000 mistake. So
Yeah.
that's
So if you had this system and paid $1.5 million for it, you'd still be in the green.
for sure.
That's crazy. Just want others to think about that. That's all.
Well, and two, the other thing too is, at some point in time, we think beyond the monetary value of it. Because
Right.
I'll tell you, some of the biggest impacts I've had in my life is people who are not even living. When from books,
That's right.
videos,
Yeah.
and lessons that they taught
Mhm.
before they passed that lives well beyond, their years.
Yeah.
And they're still affecting and changing lives and motivating people.
Jim Rohn.
Yeah, Jim Rohn, Dr. Miles Monroe.
Yeah.
And there's a crowd of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't see myself in any light like that. However, if there's a software that people can plug into,
Yeah.
and it make their life better, systematize their business, and ultimately get them to success faster,
Yeah.
and you can move that needle to where more people are successful that wouldn't have been successful without that. So it would almost be like, having an iPhone and not having an iPhone.
Yeah.
Who's got the advantage if we're going up against each other in business today?
Yeah.
So that's a big vision, but we're chipping away at it.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
And will it be complete?
I'm shooting for the middle of next year.
Oh, so it's right around the corner.
Yeah. So what we're doing now, we're going to take one of the projects that we have. Oh yeah, there'll be affiliate codes for sure. So I'm going to take one of the projects that we've got, and we're going to. Mark's here with us. He's going to basically document that journey, and then chop up that information, those how-tos, and put them in the right place, and then just build out. And the great thing is you can build out a custom home module.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a commercial build.
Yeah.
And it could be, government contracting.
Right.
But each one has their own different unique processes, but each have to be taught.
Mm-hmm.
Each has to be duplicated. So we want to automate those tasks.
There's a guy on YouTube who has an e-course on different things that he does. He does a lot. Is Graham Steph? No, not Graham. It's the other dude. Oh man, I forget his name. But anyways, he say if you came up with your e-course today, whatever completion it is, he does charge a certain amount. But every year it becomes more and more expensive. Why? Because he's adding things to his e-course and taking out stuff that's no longer relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So I have an e-course. But I don't know if everything in there is relevant today, So, but he is very diligent with taking out and putting in, and that's something you could do. So it also builds scarcity because it's like, man, we better get it at this price because next year 100% is going to be more expensive. Right. And so he's constantly adding to it. It's an ever-growing, it's a live e-course.
All right, Ruben. So this has been a constructive conversation with your boy, Ralph Locklear.
Always.
Thank you for stopping by. And again, we'll do it in, maybe it won't take us another 3 or 5 years down the road before we get back up and get an update.
True.
Awesome.
True.
Thank you for stopping by.
Thanks, man.
All right.